Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ismail Joosub, Manager of Constitutional Advancement at the F.W. de Klerk Foundation. As we find ourselves at the crossroads of critical moments for our nation, it is imperative that we engage candidly and openly about the matters that are deeply impacting South Africa and its future. So firstly, I wish to address the Expropriation Act of 2024, a piece of legislation signed into law after extensive debate and public participation. This act allows for the expropriation of property, land, and other forms of property for public purposes and in the public interest. Now, in the current law, an important and contentious provision has been included: the possibility for null compensation when expropriating land. And this concept has given concern to many sectors of South African society, and rightly so. Now, the question we must ask ourselves is whether this provision is consistent with the values enshrined in our Constitution, specifically regarding the protection of property rights. As the F.W. de Klerk Foundation, we have stated that the central issue is whether null compensation is truly just and equitable as required by Section 25 of the Constitution. So we at the F.W. de Klerk Foundation are deeply concerned that the implementation of this act, despite assurances, could potentially undermine the very foundation of property rights in South Africa. Now, as we stand, this act is not yet operational, but the potential consequences cannot be overstated. Our Constitution, founded on the rule of law, protects property rights against any arbitrary actions by the state. Expropriation may indeed be necessary, but any deprivation of property must align with the principles of fairness and equity. The Expropriation Act, as it currently stands, risks violating these principles and, by extension, the Constitution, without clear parameters on when null compensation is just, and without proper safeguards. This act could pave the way for widespread abuses, especially given the open-ended nature of relevant circumstances that could justify expropriation without compensation. In the words of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation, we appeal to Parliament to ensure that this act, should it come to force, aligns with the Constitution's principles. Property ownership is the key to wealth creation and economic growth, and we must not risk undermining this fundamental right. So next, I turn to a matter that has been stirring tensions beyond our borders: the executive order recently signed by President Donald Trump. The F.W. de Klerk Foundation is concerned by the deterioration of relations between South Africa and the United States, especially in light of divisive rhetoric surrounding land reform. It is crucial that the truth prevails over misinformation. The claims that land confiscation, genocide, and ethnic divisions in South Africa are simply false. There is no land confiscation occurring, and no one is being ostracized on the basis of race or ethnicity. As we stated in our open letter to Presidents Trump and Ramaphosa, it is essential that both leaders engage in constructive, respectful, dignified, and frank dialogue to resolve the political and economic tensions. As South Africans, we must be vigilant against narratives that threaten the unity that we have been working so hard to build. We remain committed to upholding our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and the values of peaceful coexistence that have been the bedrock of our democracy. The Foundation calls upon all South African organizations to act in the interest of our country, to rise above divisive rhetoric, to stay true to the principles of unity, peace, and the rule of law, It is only by working together in a spirit of mutual respect and shared purpose that we can build a prosperous future for all South Africans, irrespective of race, class, or background. We must remember that South Africa's future is not written in conflict or division, but in dialogue, in collaboration, in an unwavering respect for our democratic values. Now more than ever, it is time to embody the statesmanship of our past leaders, those who chose peace over provocation, those who chose diplomacy over discord. So in closing, the F.W. de Klerk Foundation stands firm in its commitment to our constitutional democracy, to the protection of property rights, and to the promotion of unity and peace in South Africa. We call on all South Africans to do the same.